Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome to tonight's episode of 49 Faithfullee. We're your hosts, Miriah Lee and Teran Lewis, and tonight we're joined by very special guests, Jessie Naylor, Chris Polo, and Pete, formerly known as Peter, now known as Pete, okay? Just Pete.
Appreciate you.
What's up, fellas? How you guys doing?
Doing great.
I'm doing fantastic. I'm
Great,
looking forward to
great.
this. This will be a roundtable for the ages for sure.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you guys all
Jesse-
making
Jesse
time
would
for
know.
us.
Jesse's been through a lot of ages. He knows.
God, here we go.
Yeah.
Already
Already.
starting.
Yep, already.
I'm older than him, I think.
Oh, really?
I think
I'm
he's older than
45.
all of us.
Yeah,
And I'm the same age as him, so watch it.
Oh,
yeah,
Oh.
exactly. I got my wooden spoon like right here.
Well, nice.
All right. Well, to start this off, obviously we know the big news that happened, lately is the CMC trade, which then led to Jeff Wilson getting traded yesterday. Let's go around the room. First, get your thoughts on the CMC trade, and I want to know how you guys are feeling. If you think that we gave up too much, is it worth it? Just your feelings of the trade overall, and then how you're feeling about us trading Jeff Wilson. I, for one, do not care that we traded Jeff Wilson. Before the season even started, I wanted to trade Jeff Wilson. People are coming out acting like he's some guy that's all of a sudden doesn't get injured, that he's like this great thing. Like, we've been complaining about him for the last 3-4 years about not being able to stay healthy. Now everybody wants to pretend like he's going to be our savior all of a sudden. So I don't care. I'm glad he's gone. We have better running backs waiting in the wings, I think. So yeah, that's how I feel. Let's start with Jessie.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Well, first of all, the Christian McCaffrey trade was incredible. Like, I've been saying, I said all offseason, a lot of people were really up in arms about the 49ers aren't going all in. What are they doing with their money? Why are they waiting? And I kept saying, just hold on. I promise you they can go all in during the season. That's what they did in 2019. If they think they're good enough, they will take that opportunity. And they did. They did it in a bigger way than what I would have ever expected. I love that deal. I loved it from the beginning. It wasn't my favorite deal. I really wanted Deron Payne, which it sounds like they almost got him as well. But they made a move that is an all-in move, not only for this year, but years to come. So I love that move. The Wilson one, I also have no qualms about. The way that I see it is this. If Mitchell's coming back healthy, and all indications are that he is coming back healthy, then you have 5 running backs. You cannot roster all 5 of these guys. So you have 2 options. You can either trade one and get something, or put one on the practice squad and let him get sniped by another team for nothing. You're not going to do that with Christian McCaffrey. You're not going to do that with Mitchell. Those are clearly your 2 best running backs. You just drafted TDP in the 3rd round. You're not going to do that with him. And then it comes down to Mason, and it comes down to Jeff Wilson Jr. And Jeff Wilson Jr. is not under contract after this year. He's older. They made the right move. You go and get something while you can, while you've got 5 healthy backs. You have to make a move. They had no other choice. So I like that move as well.
Polo?
Yeah, for starting with Jeff Wilson, I like the trade because if you have Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey, how many carries do you really expect Jeff Wilson to get? Because I see a lot of people freaking out like, oh my God, no, we needed him. If you need a 3rd string running back to try to make a Super Bowl push, you're probably not going to win a Super Bowl and probably have no shot. And let's not forget, the offense has been the problem this entire year with Jeff Wilson pretty much starting every single game at running back. And there are multiple games where we didn't even run the ball 20 times, and Jimmy's throwing the ball like 37 times, 41 times. It's not even the way we want to play. And you look at this Rams game where we were successful. Jimmy played a decent game, but also we were trying to take the ball out of Jimmy's hands whenever we could. And that's why Christian McCaffrey he threw the first touchdown pass of the game. Like that stuff you can do with someone like Christian McCaffrey. And people say, well, Christian McCaffrey's not very reliable. He's not healthy. Neither is Elijah Mitchell. But like you were saying, Miriah, like Jeff Wilson isn't really known for his durability either. The reality is when you have to win a championship, you have to be lucky. And a lot of that luck comes with you have to be healthy, especially in a game like football where you can get hurt every single play. You'd have no idea what can happen, whether you're just running on turf or if you have a collision with somebody or you twist a knee or something. So that's the unfortunate part about it is you have to be lucky to win a championship, and a lot of that's health. So you can't really sit there and look at someone who's a backup to your backup and say, well, no, they're untouchable. A 5th-round pick, people forget, was George Kittle. That was Dre Greenlaw. That was Talanoa Hufanga. And on top of that, it also gives you a little more trade ammo if it's just something extra to throw in if you want to maneuver in next year's draft or something, because you don't have a lot of early round picks. So maybe you try to trade up into, the 4th round or something like that, using that pick to get up there. I don't know. But whether you select someone or not with that pick, it's just allowing you to get somebody else in the draft where you can develop them for the next few years and on a really cheap contract. And if they turn into something and it was all just for your 3rd-string running back who's going to be leaving next year anyways because he's set for free agency, that's a huge win. So I love that trade. And I also love the Christian McCaffrey trade. That was an all-in move. And there's a lot of people who complained about it and were upset that the picks were given away. What would we have all been saying if the Rams went and got Christian McCaffrey and then we were playing him instead? I was at the game of SoFi, and that was the other satisfying thing was I was watching an all-time performance, and then it hit me in the middle of the game. I was like, we beat the Rams to get this guy, and now they can't stop him. So that gives you an upper hand in this division for years to come. And imagine what that does for Trey also. Some people have their opinions on Trey running and whether it correlates to his injuries or not, but getting Christian McCaffrey also takes a load off Trey Lance when he finally comes into the mix starting next season. So it's not even just this year. It's like Jessie said, it's an all-in move for years to come, and it will help Trey tremendously.
Yeah,
You
I'm
want me to
so
go ahead?
excited for CMC and Trey Lance next year together. Like, man, this offense is going to be crazy next year. Yeah, Pete, what you got?
So I was one of the people that really wasn't high on this trade, the CMC trade in the beginning, just because I thought they had bigger needs. I thought that I didn't think that CMC would cure the execution issue. I didn't think that the running back position was necessarily the problem with the offense. I thought it was a lot of execution issues, a lot of sloppiness, sloppy play, and penalties, turnovers. That was the reason for the offensive woes. But now I think about it, and what I really took away from the last game is that, if that trade for Christian McCaffrey gets Kyle to get out of his head and force him to do some of the things that we've been really wanting him to do this whole time with his running backs, namely get them some passes out of the backfield and use them in other ways other than just to run them up the middle, then great. Then that's great. The trade was worth it, in my opinion. As far as Jeff Wilson goes, I look at Jeff Wilson, and I was happy about the trade. I didn't think they could get more than a 6th for it. The Robinson for the Jags, they got a 6th for it. So I thought the Jeff Wilson deal is great for the 49ers. They've got TDP who they got in the draft this year, and they got a guy that by all accounts in the offseason we heard was better than all the backs that they had on the field, which was Jordan Mason. And we still haven't seen really anything from them. I think this trade will actually force Kyle to get them involved. I know that Elijah Mitchell is coming back, but just in case, because we have the injury bug with our running backs, we could finally see some TDP and Jordan Mason without having Jeff Wilson in the building. So I was cool. I'm cool with both trades.
Yeah. So as far as the Jeff Wilson thing, Miriah, you had asked me after the Rams game when we had our overreaction show, and I said I didn't think he would get dealt. I was like looking at the running back situation. I know Jeff Wilson has had history of being injured, but this year he's been our most healthiest running back. So I'm like, man, I was like looking at everything. I'm like, even though we got Christian McCaffrey, I think that he'll roll with McCaffrey and Jeff Wilson just because of the health that Jeff Wilson has shown this year. Through 8 weeks, he has been pretty healthy. So I was pretty shocked, but I am glad. I mean, that's another guy we brought in undrafted, kind of like the Jonas Griffith situation, and we got some draft capital for. Anytime you can do that, it's a win-win situation. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad. I mean, I'm not happy he's gone, but I'm glad that we got something for him. Yeah, and I agree with every one of you guys. We have, there's no need to keep five running backs on this roster, and especially when you have a Kyle Juszczyk as well, it doesn't make sense to keep all those backs. So the fact that we got something for him, and now Elijah Mitchell's coming back. I mean, I don't know if now with Christian McCaffrey, I still don't think we'll see any Jordan Mason, but the fact that he's still on the team, that they didn't cut him, and I don't know. I'm happy for Jeff Wilson. Like he's gone through a lot. I'm glad that he's going to somewhere where he's going to be familiar with the offense, going with Mike McDaniel. So yeah, I'm happy for him. I think it's a win-win on both sides, to be honest. As far as Christian McCaffrey, love the trade. I remember back in 2017, I was one of the ones I was kind of like, man, pick number 3 overall. I wouldn't mind Christian McCaffrey because I felt he was safe. I was like, the man can run routes. He can legitimately play wide receiver in this league, in my opinion. So the fact that him as a running back, he has so many. His arsenal is just out of this world, in my opinion. And I feel like Kyle and John finally just got tired of messing around with the running back situation. They tried it with the Jerick McKinnon thing. That didn't work out. And I feel like that's what Kyle was looking at. Jerick McKinnon, like, man, this is my guy. Didn't work out. Then you had the whole Joe Williams debacle. That didn't work out. Trey Sermon didn't work out. So I think Kyle and John were just probably like, you know what? Let's just go and get this guy. If we have to give up 3 picks next year, so what? You know what I mean? You get a guy like that, and then the fact that he goes in his second game and did something that only 3 running backs have done since 1970 is amazing. With the triple header, the running for a touchdown, the receiving, and the throwing, that was amazing. So yeah, hopefully now, I told Miriah this after our show, I was like, look, now there's really no excuses. So if we stay healthy, top 3 tight end, we can argue that we have 2 of the top 12 wide receivers in the league. I know the numbers don't look at it for Brandon Ayuk, but if we had I'm not to bash on Jimmy, but if we had a quarterback who had a better arm, Brandon Ayuk's numbers will probably be out of this world. He'd probably be top 5 in the league right now as far as touchdowns and yards because the dude is always open. So anyway, you can argue top 12 wide receiver, 2 top 12 wide receivers, top 3 tight end, top 5 running back. You look at the best fullback in the league. So there's no excuses. Like if Kyle can't get this done and figure something out, and when healthy, you can argue that Debo and Christian McCaffrey are the top 2 weapons in football. When they get the ball in their hands. So I'm excited going forward. I like the trade on both ends. I feel like, people are freaking out like we don't have no draft capital. Look, to me, that's just extra money that we can use in free agency instead of using them on draft picks. I'd rather bring in some veterans anyway, as far as like, some, whether it's offensive line, because if we lose McGlinchey, wherever the case may be, I would like to see that money put towards some veterans anyway. So I'm happy with both trades.
I'd like to see some of that money put towards a mic stand for Polo.
Yeah.
Can we get that in the contract?
Yeah.
Give me a new desk, actually.
So the next thing I wanted to ask you guys, I stole this from Jessie actually, because when he does his Behind Enemy Lines show, he always asks the person from the other team what they thought, what their prediction was for their team, before the start of the season and what it is currently. Has it changed? Do they feel different now? So that's what I'm going to ask you guys. Now, sitting at the bye week, 4-4, it's another roller coaster of a start of a season. Are you guys still feeling the same you did, like how you felt this season was going to be, before the season started, to how you're feeling now, or you getting scared? How you feeling? How you guys feeling?
I can't even sit still.
Go ahead, Pete. Let's start with this one.
Let's start with Pete.
Oh man, I do not feel the same. Like, let's just put it that way. Like we're going into what? We're going to go. We have the bye week this week, and then we're going into week 10. We still officially do not have an identity for this offense. Like, because we had one good game with CMC, but Debo wasn't playing. Jawan Jennings wasn't there. I think that we're still waiting to see consistency, which I don't think we thought was going to be an issue. I thought that, and of course, we thought that this was going to be Trey Lance's coming out party. And and unfortunately for him, it just didn't work out that way. But now we have the person that everybody thought was gone, and I would say at least half of the fan base, I would say more than half of the fan base really kind of wanted gone. And now he's our starting quarterback for another year, and I think that in my estimation, I know I'm probably going to get killed for this, but he hasn't been bad. In my estimation, he hasn't been that bad. But it still is not what we expected. Like, we did not expect the offense to be struggling this bad this late into the season. And then the defense, I think that we thought that we were a lot deeper than we actually were. I mean, I think you're deep. We're a deep team, but the issue is when you lose those starters, it's glaringly obvious. And so yeah, I think they did the right thing by getting as deep as they did, because I don't think we would even be 4-4 right now if they weren't as deep as they were. So that's how I feel about it.
Well, Jesse, do you remember we were in a space a long time ago in the offseason, and you guys were asking, this is when the schedule came out. You guys were asking, what is the quarterback matchup that you guys are looking forward to the most, or maybe just the matchup you're looking forward to the most? And I said Tampa Bay, so that we could get Jimmy Garoppolo versus Tom Brady. Holy fuck, I thought I was trolling, but I was right. That's literally what we're going to get. I feel way worse compared to before the season. We lost to the Bears and the Broncos. They're both ass. So I don't know what that says about us. It's weird because we look at the schedule that the Niners have had. Really easy schedule, to be honest. And like Peter was talking about the games we've had, like the Rams games, I expect us to beat the Rams. They're like our little brothers in the regular season, at least. So I need to see them do that consistently. I'm not saying Christian McCaffrey has to go score 3 different types of touchdowns every week, but I want to see us be able to put up, if not 30 points, close to it or in the high 20s, and defense stepping up and not having a ton of penalties every single week. And they were pretty good penalties against the Rams. They were pretty disciplined. So I don't feel as good as I did before the season, because also I wanted to see Trey Lance play. I feel like the offense has been really handicapped because they're having to play to Jimmy's limitations again. And I can tell that, with Kyle not even having Jimmy at camp and not giving him the playbook, he was truly fully invested in Trey and running a different type of offense with Trey, knowing his different abilities. And now he's got Jimmy forced onto him again after spending the entire offseason planning this offense for Trey. So I don't feel as good. The defense, when they're healthy, is exactly what I expected. I said on the show, I think right before the season, I thought they were going to be the top ranked defense in the league, and they were at one point. I feel good about certain individuals, but the offense has been so disappointing, knowing that your head coach is supposed to be an offensive genius when you can only manage. It was like 3 games. It was the Broncos, the Falcons, and the first Rams matchup. Offensively, we only scored like 41 points, which is an average of like 13.6 a game. There's no reason a team with those high caliber all-pro talents should be struggling to get 20 points in a game. There's no reason that should be happening. So I'm glad they're 4-4 going into the bye week based on the horrible start that they've had offensively, knowing that there's a lot of season left and they essentially have a 9-game season to right the ship, get going, and get healthy going into the playoffs. So that I feel okay about. So I feel much better moving forward after the McCaffrey trade and seeing certain guys coming back from injury. But yeah, I don't feel as good as I did before the season started.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Trey Lance going down, that was number 1 priority, developing Trey Lance. Regardless of what the record was going to be, none of that mattered. It was get your young quarterback ready to be the future stakeholder of this team, the owner in this team. And we're not going to see that, unfortunately. So you can't feel good about that. However, I didn't expect to get Christian McCaffrey, so I feel great about that. And overall, just the outlook of what I thought the season would be, I predicted 11-6. I now look and say, okay, they could go 11-6 still. That would have to be a hell of a run down the stretch. They'd have to go 7-2. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I would say more realistically, 10 wins is probably where they're at. So not that far off. Not that far off as far as what I expected from the whole season when it comes to a win-loss total. How I expected it to happen, completely off. I didn't expect to lose to the Bears and the Falcons. I didn't expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be the quarterback. I didn't expect Christian McCaffrey to be traded to the 49ers. So there's a lot that I didn't expect, some good, some bad. But the overall outcome of the season, I think, is still relatively on track.
I didn't expect to have to change my intro because it made Jesse sick to his stomach.
Yeah. Thank you for that, by the way. I
Yeah.
did see that, and I appreciate you.
That's hilarious.
I'm here for you, bro. I'm here for you.
Want me to go, Miriah?
Yeah.
I'm with you, Jesse. I had predicted 11-6 as well. I thought that's what, because I figured going into the bye, I actually had us at 5-3. I had us losing to the Broncos anyway, because I thought they'd be better than what they are. You know what I mean? I thought with Russell Wilson being there, like, oh, they're going to be killing with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and all these weapons in that defense. So I thought we would lose to them. I honestly thought the Rams would beat us once because I had us going 5-1 in the division. So I thought the Rams would beat us once, the Broncos would beat us, and I thought the Chiefs would beat us. So I was like, okay, so we're going 5-3, and I expected Trey to struggle in the first half of the season.
Mhm.
I felt like that Atlanta game is when he was probably started hitting his stride, and then getting comfortable with his offense and stuff like that. And you're right, like now we got Christian McCaffrey, so now that makes me feel better. I agree. I think 10-7 is probably more realistic. I would love to go 11-6, like you said. That means we'd have to go 6-2 or 7-2 down the stretch or whatever the case may be. I just don't see that happening because I just don't see, like Pete said, we still don't have an identity. I know we have. I think the bye came at a perfect time, to be honest, because
Mhm.
now Debo should be coming back after the bye. We got Elijah Mitchell coming back, so hopefully having this time off, it can get Kyle to get real creative to see what this offense can do. And I think it was you, Polo, that said this, and I was like, I'm happy the game that Jimmy had. I loved. I mean, what did he only miss like 4 passes or whatever the case may be? It was like 21 or 25, whatever the case may be. That's all we need from that guy. If we can get that, I do think we can go 11-6. But that's just a big if. And I agree with you that I love to see it, but we do this to the Rams every time. Go and do this, have a game like this against the Chargers,
Mhm.
have a game like this against Tampa Bay, and then I'll feel more comfortable, and then I'll stop criticizing you. Plain and
Mhm.
simple. You go out, you give me 4 consistent games, I'll shut up about you, Jimmy, and I'm keeping it real. Like, you know what I mean? Don't give me a reason to criticize. So yeah, I think this team has a lot going forward. It's funny because like I felt going into the season, we're probably still the second best division in football. I was like, okay, the AFC West probably has taken over because of everything that happened in the offseason, but they're not looking as good as we thought.
Mhm.
And I never thought the NFC least would be as good as they are right now, which is
Yeah.
crazy. So
Wild.
yeah, wow. Like I'm just like, what the heck's going on here? So yeah, I think we can still take the division. I think the Seahawks, even though they're playing good football, I think that I'm actually shocked with Geno Smith, to be honest. But I mean, that just shows you that Pete
Mhm.
Carroll's a good coach. I don't care what nobody says.
Yeah.
He has the jaws of life. I can't stand the guy sometimes, but the man's a good coach. I mean, he's first in the division, probably with the worst quarterback in the division, if we're being honest here. I mean, you can argue him and Jimmy, but yeah, I think one game off for me from 11-6 to 10-7. But like I said, if Jimmy gives me these games on a consistent basis, I like 11-6 and maybe even 12-5. I don't know because I have a trust in this defense if everybody can come back healthy. The fact that I think what was it, Miriah, after week 5, we only had like 89 points allowed. Like we were killing it. And then after
Mhm.
that, after Emmanuel Mosley got hurt, and then we started losing Armstead and all this other stuff, then it just went downhill. So I don't know. I mean, the fact that we're playing with, I think you said it too, Jesse, playing without 5 starters. You know what I mean? We had, Kinlaw, Armstead, Aziz, Jimmy Ward. We had 5 guys that were out, and we are still killing it. So I
Mhm.
think what I will say is too, the second half of that Rams game, I like what Kyle and D'Amico did. I felt like they finally both made adjustments at the same time. 'Cause I felt like we always go through games and either we make an adjustment on one side of the ball and not the other. And for the most part, it's D'Amico who's making the adjustments, and his defense is usually the one who takes over games. But this game, I feel like they both made adjustments. We both did good. So hopefully this brings some momentum going into the bye week. So when we play the Chargers week 10 coming back from the bye on the Sunday night game, hopefully when that happens, I think that's what we play, right? Yeah. So hopefully when that happens, we can go in there and we can dominate, because this is another game I had a question mark on, but I thought that we would win. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with what Jessie said exactly, that, what I think that we end up with, is pretty much to how I thought we would before the season, but we're just getting there a different way. Like, I thought we were going to come out and kick ass. Obviously, I thought we were going to handle business in Chicago. We know how that ended up. And then before the season, I kept saying that I was the most excited for this season out of any season that I can remember. But that, I mean, mostly was because of Trey Lance, right? And like you guys said, obviously, us losing him at the beginning, along with all the rest of our starters, has really made this season kind of crazy. But the good thing is, coming back from the bye, we get a lot of those starters back. I don't know, about the whole Armstead. I feel like that's who we really need to get back, like number one priority. But I feel like his is the most like up in the air, like that injury he has. I don't know.
Well, not only
scary.
that, Miriah, but we just talked about it a little bit earlier. They tried to trade for Payne. So does that tell us that Kinlaw's out for the season? Or does that tell us they're not sure about Armstead, or both? I don't know what that tells us, but it does tell us that they feel like they need a defensive tackle who's a difference maker. At least one of those guys is probably not coming back. So are both of them out? Because if that's the case, I agree. I think Armstead's the most important, and I would prefer him over Debo to come back if I had to choose.
Yeah.
And they brought that guy from that played against us, Minnesota too. Like that they released him like right before the season, but he looked really good. What was his name? Is it Tygill? I can't remember, but like what is his last name? McGill. Yeah. Like and I mean, of course he's gonna need a couple of weeks to get him, but like I'm interested to see what he looks like, because they're thin and at the D tackle position, in my estimation. Like I thought that was one of the main things when we were talking about the CMC trade, that like I was like, well, I mean, I hope they still have enough to go get a D tackle and maybe a corner, because that's what we need.
And let me ask you guys something. Real quick, because I know that everybody kept saying that Chris Cassera during training camp and all that was using Drake Jackson in the Art and Key role. Would you guys like to see that more, where he plays inside with maybe Charles and Menahue, and then have Samson Ebukam and Nick Bozo on the outside?
Well, if Armstead's not going to play, yeah. I thought Amenahu would be perfect for that role. That's who I penciled into that role. As soon as Arden Key left, I go, no big deal. Amenahu has the body type. He'll be perfect for that role. But that was assuming that Armstead was there. If Armstead's not there, I like that. That's a turbo package that you can run with, or a NASCAR package, whatever you want to call it. That's what you want when you're trying to get after a quarterback with 4 on 3rd and long, for sure.
I agree, for sure.
Pause.
Yeah, for sure.
Jamal.
Yeah.
Pause.
Next time, Jamal, just when you invite too many people, it gets too crazy. Like the anniversary show, never again, because nobody ever even gets to say one.
That was crazy. You had like 12 people.
Yeah, we did.
Let me answer this real quick. Ryan, I was supposed to move in, so let me just tell it one last time for everybody. I was supposed to move into the new place on the 27th. However, it's still whatever day, and I'm still in the garage of the old place with no internet, no nothing. We went to go get our keys and do the walkthrough at the new place, and nothing was ready. They had just put in new flooring. They were supposed to put in a new bathtub, new sinks, new everything, new refrigerator, new oven, new stove, everything, and not one single thing was done. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
Who's your property management company? Who do I have to make a phone call to? Because that's what I do for a living.
I have no idea. So we went today, and it's looking better. And they better, because we have to move in tomorrow. We don't have a choice. We have to be out of this place by tomorrow. Luckily, the landlord at this place was nice enough, and we extended to stay here till the 4th. We were supposed to be out of here on the 31st, and we were like, well, we don't know, something could happen. Let's just ask if we can stay a few more days, so we can clean and whatever. And good thing we did, because we'd be homeless right now if not.
Mm.
You can come stay with me,
Jeez.
Miriah. I wouldn't leave you homeless, girl.
Can I stay with you, TL?
Yeah,
I
sure.
know.
All right.
We're all coming.
I'm gonna
Cool.
raid your kitchen.
Raid my kitchen. Cool. You're gonna have my ribeye steaks I got in the fridge. I'm gonna grill. So
Oh shit.
But yeah, so I do appreciate you guys all being here. I know it's a little crazy, and the show's, running a little different because obviously I don't have my setup to run things like usual. So, but I appreciate you guys being in here and hanging in with us.
Absolutely.
Now that we've talked about how the season, didn't start off expectedly how we wanted and all the bad stuff and whatnot, let's give some mid-season bye-week awards out. That's, because it hasn't all been bad, right? There's been players
No.
that have stood out. There's, that players like, well, for one, everybody knows I'm a huge Ayuk fan. I thought, as most of us did, he was going to have an awesome season this year with Trey Lance as quarterback. And now we see that's not going to happen. But, when all's said and done, like he really is still having a great year. Like he might not be putting up the numbers that, we'd expect, but I mean, he's a great blocker. Like the things he does out on the field, like, you see him fighting with guys out there, shoving people down, like it's just like I love the way that guy plays. So like I still love to see that, he's out there killing it. So let's just go through and, maybe we probably might have the same answer for some, but it is what it is. We'll just go around with offensive player and go around the room. Whoever wants to start.
I'll start, but I'm gonna do it differently. I'm gonna do it a little bit, just so that way we have different names. I'm gonna give it to guys that I didn't expect to play at this level.
Okay.
So for me, that player that I have to give the award to right now would certainly be Aaron Banks.
Damn it, you
The
bastard.
thing that I was most worried about.
Suck.
I was gonna say the same thing. So
Yeah.
The thing that I was most worried about, that's funny. I try to be different. Now I'm the same. But the thing that I was most worried about was the interior offensive line. That was the one thing going into the season. And it wasn't that I never said that they couldn't be good, but I didn't think that they would gel as quickly as they did. To me, that was the biggest concern because we just didn't know what if it doesn't hold up. And at that time, we're looking at our rookie quarterback or semi-rookie quarterback and saying, okay, we got to protect this kid. That was the frustration. You've got a first-time starting quarterback, and you got an offensive line in front of them that you lost 2 Pro Bowlers on. What are they going to do? Super frustrating. And I mean, the weakest link on the offensive line is not any of those guys. It's the right tackle and Mike McGlinchey, which is crazy because McGlinchey, I don't think he's as horrible as some of us make him out to be, but he certainly isn't playing very good. And he's not playing as good as those guys in the interior. Brendel, maybe you can make the case there, but those guys in the middle have really held it down, and especially Banks. One thing that I did say, and I was very bullish on, was even if Banks is good, there is no way that he can play at a Pro Bowl caliber level, which is what Laken Tomlinson was. I was wrong. He's doing just that. Aaron Banks deserves some love.
Yep.
Well, I was going to say the exact same thing, so thanks for that, Jesse. But yeah, now Aaron Banks hasn't even allowed a sack yet, which is crazy. Like, that was the thing we talked about in Spaces all offseason. Like, what are we going to do when we lose Laken Tomlinson? And we were talking about guards they could draft or any guys in free agency they can go after. Even some people were talking about trading for guys. That's been the biggest surprise for me. So I was going to say Aaron Banks, but because Jesse wanted to steal my answer, I'm going to say Brandon Ayuk.
Yep.
Debo's kind of been neutralized for the most part this year when he is playing by defenses, and that's really concerning to me. I was writing about that a few weeks ago, talking about the offensive struggles and mentioning how the Niners aren't able to, establish a consistent running game. The runs to Debo out of the backfield have been getting stuffed like a lot. And if you actually were to take away, and the reason I say this is because the run against the Seahawks, that went 51 yards, it was almost stopped in the backfield. If you take that run out, the rest of his carries during the season is averaging like 3.8 yards a carry. His receiving numbers are down. He's averaging a drop per game right now. So with that, someone else had to step up, and Brandon Ayuk looks like a wide receiver 1 right now, like a pure wide receiver 1. It's just like TL was saying earlier, if we had a better quarterback, maybe that would be more obvious because he's open literally all the time. And Brandon Ayuk being able to pick up that slack, he's been I'm actually really glad that Jimmy's, I think, made more of an effort to see him because a lot of times last year, Brandon Ayuk could be wide open and we'd have to look at the tape and see Jimmy miss him or not see him. So I'm glad that he's more of a focal point in the offense this year, and he's really ascending. He's someone they got to keep long term. He's been balling.
Yes.
Chris. But so because Jessie, and I knew that, so as soon as he said he wanted to go first, I knew he was going to pick Aaron Banks. Like, but yeah, that was, I thought I was going to be smart and say Aaron Banks, but apparently I'm not as smart as I thought I was. And my first, it had to be the offensive line because I would say that they were like, just like Chris was saying, they've exceeded our expectations. I would say, like, especially in pass protection, but I am gonna go with CMC because this guy in a game, really a game and a half, because the first game he really wasn't utilized all the way, but in, let's just say 2 games, he's kind of given us an offensive spark that we did not have. And now we're almost counting on going into week 10 and going forward, like that he might have unlocked what we were hoping this offense could be with Kyle. And I think he's kind of unlocked Kyle as far as like just opening his eyes to what the possibilities could be that you could do with the running back position, as well as with his receivers and Kittle and everybody else. So I'm gonna go with CMC. I think CMC is a bigger factor than really anybody on offense has been thus far.
All good ones, guys. So yeah, my number one thing was going to be Aaron Banks as well, but I'm just going to go back and piggyback off of Polo again because Brandon Ayuk has just been amazing to me. Before that game against the Rams, I had tweeted like I think Brandon Ayuk's been our best player on offense. Like, and Jesse, I don't remember what game it was, but you broke it down last year. I think it was one of the playoff games where you talked
NFC
about
Championship.
NFC Championship game, how many times he was open. So I think we were starting to see it last year with Brandon Ayuk, and the fact that, I mean, he cooks every corner who's on him. His route running has been filthy. Like, I'm not saying he's him, so nobody kill me, but he reminds me of a Devontae Adams a little bit. Like, as far as like the way he plays football, like he's not the burner, but he just knows how to get open. He has really crisp routes and has good hands. So yeah, I mean, if like I said, he'd probably be in the Pro Bowl discussion right now if he got his targets. So Brandon Ayuk, Banks, those two have just been playing out of their mind, and those two had just been my best 2 offensive players going forward. And this is saying something because we have an all-pro guy in Debo on our team and the best left tackle in Trent Williams. So the fact that these two were outplaying them is saying something about how good and how much they progressed in 2022.
That's another thing I did want to say about Aaron Banks, though. I couldn't because Jesse stole it. He's been playing really well a large portion of the year without Trent Williams next to him, which also speaks volumes to how good he's been.
He made Jalen Moore look viable for snaps. So
yeah.
Davo, I will say that I'll give Pettis props for roasting your favorite DBs. So he does get awards for that. Let's go with defensive player, since everybody wanted to throw out there that we weren't giving Huff any love, but I didn't know that he played on the offense. But now we're on the defense. Now
cook that man. Cook
I'll
him.
start this one off.
I was seeing that in the chat.
I'm gonna go somebody different, just because I feel like there's names I feel like I can say, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna give it a Samson Ebukam.
Okay.
Only because I've been loving the way he's been playing. Like, he doesn't have like his numbers aren't out of this world, but I feel like he's creating a lot of pressure, and I feel like he's making plays easier for everybody else. And every time I see him, he's in almost on every play. Like he's even if he doesn't get the snap, if it ain't Nick Bosa, he's right there. If it ain't, Drake Jackson, he's right there. So yeah, I think Stephen Emocon's been playing good. He's playing for a contract as well because he's a free agent after this year. I don't know. I thought me and Miriah had did a breakdown of the 53-man roster of where we thought he was going to make it or not, and she said, like, yeah, if it's equal, like if you look at Hyder, Drake Jackson, Kamoko Toure, if it's equal, he might be the odd man out because of his contract. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna get the same production, but the fact that he's been playing to me, he's been playing very well. So I'm gonna give that man his props. Like I said, I think he's gonna have a better second half of the season, and I think his numbers would actually be better if we did have a Eric Armstead or Javon Kinlaw in there. But yeah, I like the way Simpson Evil Comes been playing. So I just wanted to say his name because I feel like it's a little bit different from what everybody else is gonna do.
Yeah.
We were
Go
all
ahead,
going to
Peter.
say Ibukam. No, I'm just kidding.
I think you just said that to throw me under the bus for wanting him off the team, but
Davo,
Never.
you're right.
Never.
You're right, Davo, by the way.
Yeah, I would say, for me, I mean, I don't know how anybody could not say, but bring up Bosa. Like, I mean, every single game, he's steady and he gives you exactly what you're looking for. I mean, the guy is he's just a beast, and I think I'm not even gonna act like I'm a stat guy and tell you what he's on pace for as far as sack wise. But I mean, the fact that he had so many pressure, he missed 2 games, and he still had more pressures than everybody else in the league at one point. So I just think that Bosa is one of those generational talents that I'm glad he's here, and he's a guy that I think you saw it when he went down for those 2 games, that the defensive line, as much as we think that this defensive line is deep and they do have players, it's not the same without Bosa out there, and Bosa just creates havoc. So yeah, Bosa is always going to be my guy.
Just for the numbers, you got Nick Bosa with 8 sacks in 8 games, even though he missed 2 games, like you said.
Yeah.
And you got Samson Ebelcom has 3.5 sacks. He's second on the team. So he's almost at 4 sacks. So
Davo, I think that's a great idea to have me be QB1 and mentor Trey, but I think I would rather sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a season or 2 and sit and learn behind him first. But for offense, sorry, not offense. For defense, I think that the single-handedly best defensive athlete in sports right now is literally Russell Westbrook. The way that he's completely stopped that entire Lakers offense. So there's your answer. There's your answer,
Awesome.
Roscoe. Okay. Oh my God. Okay.
Oh my God.
No, in all seriousness,
You
I
knew
am
he was going to find a
Hufanga.
way to talk about the Lakers because he
Absolutely.
loves them so much.
We were at a place in downtown LA across from crypto.com. And everyone's watching the Lakers get their first win. I was just laughing the whole time. But no, I am going to go Hufanga because I wanted to go Bosa just because of how good he's playing, but I also expected him to get better and have a year that he's having. So I'm going to go Hufanga because I did not think Hufanga was going to be good. I was one of those people that thought that they were screwed at safety. I did not expect him to not only not be good, but he looks like an all-pro the way that he's playing this season. He's everywhere. He's always around the football. He's hitting guys with a lot of power. It kind of takes me back some hits he has to when we had Deshaun Goldson or Dante Whitner. And he's one of the captains of that defense. It feels like the way he's out there just telling everyone where they need to be. You can block me all you want. Russell Westbrook blocks you guys for making shots. And I think that with Hufanga, when he's not out there, you feel such a difference in energy because the way that he plays is with so much anticipation, a lot of instinct, like that pick 6 he had against Matt Stafford. I don't think you're going to get that from someone like George Odom. I don't think you're going to get that from Deshaun Gibson, who actually drops the interception opportunities he has. So yeah, I have to go Hufanga. He's been a stud.
He's a higher rated safety than Hufanga right now, I think.
It was Pro Football Focus.
Hey, It's the Bible, bro. Like, I mean, you can't
true.
argue with the Bible.
It's true.
Pro Football Focus.
Hilarious.
See, here's the thing about Pro Football Focus is they're good for their stat keeping,
Mhm.
but the way they score, this is how you know that they're broken. Tennessee Titans game last year, Debo goes off for like 190 yards. He had a lower score than Jennings, who had 2 catches for 19 yards.
Yep.
Like, what are we doing? What is wrong with your scoring system that is even possible in any world? Gibson's actually, he caught some strays there from Polo, but he's played really well also.
Yes. I was gonna give
I
him
have to agree. I mean, for me, Hafunga is just, I thought he would be as good as Tart, because I just frankly think Tart's a little bit overrated by this fan base. I thought he could fill in no problem, but without Jimmy Ward, I was a little concerned. I'm like, okay, like Jimmy Ward's the coverage guy. Hafunga's more of, I'm going to play in the box and make a play type guy. Man, he's been everywhere, all over the field, and people nitpick the missed tackles and what have you. That's what comes when it comes with a player who is that instinctual and is going to try to make that many plays. There are guys that may not miss as many tackles, but they're not near the ball as much as Hafunga. Hafunga is always around the ball. It doesn't matter what's going on. That pick he had against, was it the Chiefs, the beginning of that game?
Mhm.
Dude, what
That
the
was
hell?
sick.
He just came flying out of nowhere, jumps the receiver, and it's like, dude, how are you always near the ball every single time? Like, one time just not be near the ball, is that even possible? This kid is so damn good. He's so instinctual and he's so smart. He's just so schooled on what the other team's going to do. He's ahead of his age mentally, and it's
Absolutely.
very impressive what he's doing right now.
Well-
I love Hafunga.
Well, I thought he was a bum before the season, like Trey Sermon. But anyways, I'm gonna change my answer because there cannot be 2 people saying Hufanga. That's way too much USC love. I'm changing it to Charvarius Ward. Mooney Ward is him, and that's my only explanation.
Yeah,
one
he's-
is enough for USD.
Yeah. And another honorable mention guy who, I'm surprised nobody said anything was Dre Greenlaw. He's been playing pretty well too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't
felt
get
like the
that
last
Bears
couple
game out of
weeks-
my head though.
Yeah, that was terrible.
that was bad.
You're right, that was terrible. But I remember,
Honestly,
I know
the
he's
first
been-
couple of games. The first couple of games.
Yeah, yeah. And you look at, for a while, like he was like in the top 8 in like tackles per game. Like he was just flying around the field too. But you're right though, Jesse Hafunga. We're talking about it on Spaces for like months about how we're gonna do with the safety position before the draft, all this other stuff. But your IQ and your intangibles and your instincts can make up for lack of speed.
I mean,
Easy,
but
you know what I mean?
coverage. He's
Yeah,
been covering dudes.
he has.
Like, it's crazy.
I'll never forget. Like, I remember there was an interview with Deion Sanders, and I feel like some of these 40 times do get overblown sometimes. As far as like, oh, he as pro day was slow, whatever the case may be. And I remember when Deion Sanders interviewed, and he was like, "I know Jerry Rice only ran a 4.6, but on the field he's every bit of a 4.2."
Yeah.
So I feel like that's
That's
Hafunga. I'm
real.
not saying he's that fast, but I'm just saying like Hafunga, his instincts, his intangibles, the way he, he's just so smart. Like Jesse said, he's just like a man amongst boys out there sometimes for his age, for him being 22, 23 years old is incredible how smart he is already. So I feel like by the time he's 25, it's going to be amazing how much better he's going to be on that football field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was actually going to say another linebacker, which was Fred Warner, because he's been one of our only starting defensive players that's been reliable. Like, he's the only person ever out there on the field, like we can give all these awards to everybody else, but they're missing games, they ain't out on the field every freaking play like he is. So, like, we know Huff's my guy, but
Yeah.
just to make it different, I'll go with Fred because he's all reliable.
And honorable
like
mention to Gibson. Like, I mean, this guy came off the street. Nobody thought that he was even gonna play. Like when they went and got him, they thought he was going to be a backup. And this guy he's played well. Like, he's not a world beater, but he plays well out there. He doesn't get victimized, and that's really like I mean, that's what we needed.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
love
and
me
I
some
think
Fred
him and
Warner
Huff
too. When
work
me and
well
Mariah,
together.
oh, they do. When me and Mariah met Fred Warner at Mandalay Bay during the draft, like the dude is so humble too. Like he's super cool to talk to, and I even told him like, man, I was like, when we drafted you out of BYU, I was thinking to myself, he's a rover, but hopefully he puts on about 10 pounds. And he laughed and he was like, I heard people tell me the same exact thing. Just put on like 10 more pounds. And yeah, so I mean, the dude's super chill. Mariah's right. He's been so durable and he takes care of his body for sure.
Yeah.
What about Tart? He's a bum. He's on his couch. Go.
And
He's
he
playing
still
Madden.
finds
Go play with him.
He still
Come
finds
on,
ways to
Double.
throw shade too. Like it's crazy.
Let's go with coaches. So anyone from O-line, D-line, up to top of the coaching staff to the bottom. Some have been good, some have been not so good. I had
Yeah.
high hopes for some of them that were coming into this season that have been pretty shitty this far. So, whoever wants to start.
I'm taking the O-line coach. Like
That's who I was gonna go
Yeah.
with.
Chris Forrester.
I mean, you got two starting, basically two rookie guards starting, and a guy in Brendel that has never started in his career. He's just been a journeyman up to this point. He ended up having his best lineman go down, and for multiple games, and I mean they were still he still had him serviceable. And then of course you got McGlinchey on the other side, just a ticking time bomb that you just don't know when he's gonna blow up, and like doesn't know when he's just gonna let that guy just walk right by him. So it's I got to give it to Forrester. He's that he's done a great job in my estimation.
I'm gonna go D'Amico Ryans. I know that they got lit up against the Chiefs, but I think a lot of times you play
Fire him.
Second best quarterback in the league. He's just going to find a way to put up points. I hope Niner Nate hears that. Second best quarterback in the league. And I think that it's also really tough with multiple games where, you lose Emmanuel Mosley and Jason Verrett isn't ready to go yet. You lose Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw. So in the interior, you're weak. And even the Falcons game that people were trying to get on the defense for, I mean, Nick Bosa wasn't playing that game either, and they only allowed 21 points, which is not crazy. The team averaged 23. So I'm going to Miko. There's a reason he's going to be probably one of the first in line to get a head coaching job next year. I feel like the Cardinals are just going to cut ties with Cliff, and they're going to end up hiring D'Amico because he knows the division very well, and we're all going to miss him. I expect possibly Fangio to step in, but Fangio's definitely been one of those guys on this staff that's just been awesome.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Kyle Shanahan because everybody tells me he's an offensive genius, and I have to love him. Yeah. So, and he's the head coach. No, I actually agree with Peter. It's Forrester right now. You take that offensive line and we talked about it. We thought it would be an issue, or at least a question mark. Whether you thought it would be an issue or not, it was the biggest question mark going into the season, and it is passed every test with flying colors. And he has a big part in that, a huge part in that. Unfortunately, there is a flip side of that. He's been also a big part in the game planning as an assistant head coach as well. And I don't know how well he's done there necessarily, but when it just comes to his position group, he's done an excellent job.
Yeah.
JV, you kind of took my shine a little bit with the Leonard Hakerson thing, but as a first-year wide receivers coach. But I mean, I guess the easy answer is Chris Kocurek because of the injuries he's had. You put in a Givens, you put in a Ridgeway, these guys that you picked up and stuff like that. But that guy just knows how to get people paid. Like Chris Kocurek is just the man. Like he can take a Kerry Hyder and give him 8.5 sacks, have him get paid, and have him come back on the cheap. Like that's just how good that man is. Yeah, I guess that's just the easy answer. If I'm gonna go with disappointment, I know it's not on your agenda, but I'm gonna have to say Anthony Lynn. Like, what's going on with him? Like, I feel like you don't hear his name at all. Like, he's not like when Kyle is struggling or something struggling. Like, does he get an input? Like, I'd like to know if he's involved more with his team because I thought with Mike McDaniel gone, you got somebody who has head coaching experience and what he's done with like a Austin Eckler and stuff like that, and that offense, that run game. I thought that would be a little bit better offensively. So I'm gonna go Chris Kasarik for my guy, for my coach, and then for the coach I'm more gets proud of, or whatever the case may be. But the one I'm disappointment with is Anthony Lynn, just because I don't know his role on this team.
Well, hold on. How did none of us say Greasy? Jim Garoppolo is playing the best that he's ever played.
All of his career. It's his career,
because,
you guys.
Because Greasy knows how to see the game like a quarterback, and nobody else knows how to do that, Jimmy says.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because I know he's not playing right now, but I'm so interested in seeing what Chris Cassera is going to do with Kalia Davis, that D tackle, with that rookie that's on IR, whatever the case may be. Like, I think he could be a beast for us.
Marco tweeted out that he might be pretty close to coming back, and Marco is always spot on with that stuff.
Okay,
so.
good. I didn't see that tweet, but I hope so, because that kid in college was dominant.
Yeah, we just need
we
some
could
depth.
Definitely use him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, just stand there and be big. Like, that's all you need.
Yeah.
But I would say, about the Anthony Lynn point, like, I think somebody was talking about it in the spaces that his last year he was in, or his last job was in Detroit, and their running game sucked. The running game sucked at the time, and then as soon as he left, the running game blew up. Like, and now, our running game didn't look good in the beginning of the season, and then we get back who? Like, our guy had to come out of retirement. Like, and then all of a sudden
Bobby
we got
Turner.
a little bit of juice. Yeah, Bobby Turner gave him a little bit of juice. So I don't quite know. I think Anthony Lynn's just getting a check at this point.
I think we have a lot of people on that staff that just get checks at this point.
Yeah.
What's up, Panama? Good to see you. Let's go with special teams player. So, not everybody has to pick the punter or the kicker. There's other special teams players,
I'll pick the punter. Mitch Wishnowsky is him. Elite punter. I'm going Mitch.
Knuckle punts all day.
I'm picking the snapper, so.
Tabor Pepper, hell
Tabor
yeah.
Pepper.
Yep.
It's hard to say. I don't know. Nobody's really standing out to me. Like, it's just funny how, we talked about, you and I talked about some a couple weeks ago, how we're like, man, we felt like we addressed special teams at all levels, with getting Ray McLeod to be the returner, Orrin Burks, and then George Odom and all this other stuff. But I don't know. Like, I don't know who's really dominating, who's not. I guess Tarvarius Moore was doing okay, I guess, but I don't know what's going on now. Like, I don't know. I can't give anybody
Jordan
my
Mason.
flowers. Can't give anybody their respect, because I don't know who's doing what, to be honest. So
I'll go Womack. I mean,
yes,
Womack's interesting because he reminds me of Hafunga. You're not seeing a lot of him, but every time you do, you're seeing something. He puts his thumbprint on the game every time. Whether it's he's the gunner, he makes a huge tackle, a huge hit, or he's the reason that a team is pinned inside the 3-yard line. Every single game, you're seeing something from him. It started out when he was playing nickel corner. You saw it immediately. They took him out. I think they didn't like him as much in the running game, which is fine. But when you can flash in a game and you're not supposed to, you're in a position where you're not supposed to flash in a game. It's not like he's the kick returner or the kicker or the punter. Being a gunner and flashing is really hard to do. And there's at least 3 times that I can think of that he's flashing a game in a gunner role, which is absolutely insane. Womack is incredibly talented. And I think he's going to be the guy that we look at from this draft class that really breaks out in year 2.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. Anybody else?
So I had a good point too. Robbie Gold has been playing very well. He's special teams, but dude's been money all year.
By the way, in the chat, there's a fraud who's named himself Rohan. That's actually some guy named Chris Polo just using my YouTube channel. taking advantage
Yeah.
of them on this show right now. So just want to raise awareness. For
That makes sense
roster.
though. But can you read his comment, or your comment, I should say?
Yeah. So the comment that he said with my YouTube channel, I don't remember where it is. He said, "Cool to see you brought a fraud and an impersonator on." And I just, this guy's he's kind of a bum, in all honesty.
I thought I was inviting Rohan on the show, but you
I
showed
only
up,
have
so I don't
I
know.
only have
He hacked his
I only
page.
have one webcam. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't afford a mic stand. I wouldn't expect you to have two cams.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Don't forget, I would say, hey, give McLeod some love. Like, he's probably our best returner that we've had in a long time. I know that he fumbles every now and then, but you know what?
Love.
He gets a little bit from me because, I mean, at least there's a chance that we get past the 20 with him out there. Like, that's the only thing I give him love for. So.
Yeah.
No, I was expecting way more out of him than what we've gotten.
Steele's reaction is exactly how I feel about Ray Ray right now.
Yeah.
I will say this about Ray Ray, and it has nothing to do with the special teams. The reason Danny Gray, I think, is not getting on the field, he's a terrible run blocker.
Yes.
And if you go watch this last game, Ray Ray's a very good blocker, but for his size, there were times where he would chip block on a linebacker and then go to the second level and help stop a corner or a safety as well. In fact, that play that he was laying on his back where he caught that fumble, he chip blocked and helped keep the linebacker at bay. Then he turned, looked upfield, saw, I believe it was Rap maybe, hit him, and that's why he was on the ground, is because he hit him and was trying to stop him from making the play as well. So he helped out on 2 blocks, ended up on his back, and that's why he was Johnny on the spot and was able to just catch the ball that fell right in his chest.
Yeah.
Don't
You know
blame
what I
him
think it
because
is
he's not
too?
a go ball.
Yeah, you know what I think it is with Ray Ray McLeod too, why he's so physical, coming from the Steelers organization. That's how they play. Like Mike Tomlinson, he thrives on physical football and stuff, and his receivers, kind of like Kyle, he wants his receivers to block. So yeah, I think you're right, Jesse. I think with Gray, he needs to get a little bit more stronger and learn how to block and stuff. And hopefully he can be like another Ayuk out there as far as his blocking, because Ayuk, as being as small as he is, he's a dog, man. I mean, with his blocking and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, fake Rohan. I don't like when I look at the route running, it's tough because I'll say this, he finds a way to get open more often and he's not as fast, so you have to attribute that to something.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, let's close off the awards with the most improved player. You can either, if it's somebody that's been on the team from last year that's most improved, since then, or from the start of the season, whichever way you want to take it.
Most improved.
Jimmy Garoppolo playing the best football of his life.
Oh, my
I mean,
God.
he's throwing balls downfield now. He must
of
have
his
been playing a
life.
better game.
Instead of throwing interceptions directly at people, he's throwing them right at Jalen Ramsey, but making sure he drops it this time.
Yeah,
So
I mean, he's putting more oomph. He's putting more oomph on his throws, so people is not catching those balls that easy.
exactly.
Yeah, they weren't expecting the power.
Yeah,
I guess
I'm gonna go
Paula.
personally for most improved. I'm gonna say. I guess I'm going to say Aaron Banks because he wasn't playing last year. So to go from not really playing to having to step in and you're playing left guard, there's no Trent Williams next to you for consecutive weeks. And you still, I think he's only allowed like 3 pressures or something. You've not allowed a single sack yet. When Jimmy's just standing and tap dancing and crab walking in the pocket, just patting the ball nonstop to not allow a sack yet. I'm going to go Aaron Banks as most improved.
Ty's all over it, man.
He is. Exactly.
Bro, that's it. That's the one for me. And a lot of that is because I already gave an award to Funga and I already gave an award to Banks. But Lenore was borderline not going to make this team. And when Womack was drafted, he was drafted to take his spot. The fact that he was able to work himself back into the starting lineup after everything he went through, plus he's an Oregon Duck. I got to give him some love.
That's a great pick. I was thinking about him too because I had him cut at the 53-man roster. I was like, he's not going to make this team. I was like, you got Ambry Thomas, who I thought was going to be way better, who's a disappointment, But I had him. Then like you said, the Samuel Womack thing. I'm like, man, then they re-signed Jason Verrett. I'm like, oh, Delmer Lenore's gone. But yeah, he's done his thing. And I'm proud of him. Like he come all this adversity and stuff like that. So yeah, kudos to Diomedor. So I'm going to pick somebody else. And I'm going to go offensive line too, just because he hasn't played in a while, and this is his first
You gonna
time
do it?
starting.
You gonna do it? You gonna do it? Ain't you? You gonna take mine?
Jake Brendel.
Oh, you God!
Were you gonna say that first?
Yes, I was.
I want to go Jake Brendel.
I was like, ain't nobody gonna say Brendel. Like,
no, I'm going him, just because simple fact. I mean, this is his first time being a starter at the age of 29 as a full-time starter, and not just been down to fill in. And that was one position, like you said, Jesse, you're worried about interior offensive line. Banks, I was pretty comfortable with because he was going to his natural position, but I was worried about center and right guard. Jake Brendel's had his moments where his head scratching, but he's done a pretty solid job. And the fact that he's taken reps, and people want to talk about reps, you know what I mean? He took all his reps in 2021 and all of training camp this year with Trey Lance because he was working with the second team. And the fact that he had to get acclimated for snapping the ball to Jimmy, I think he's done pretty well. Like, he's not a world beater, not a Pro Bowler. I disagree with you, Fernando, but hey, to each their own. But I think for him, him being an unknown, I think he's played pretty solid. He started off really rough, but I feel like since like that Carolina game, he's gotten better. So.
Let's answer the Rohan thing real quick so that people don't think we're just like punking on Rohan for nowhere. Everybody here loves Rohan. The joke though is that Polo does a phenomenal Rohan impression, so we call him Rohan, and then the other we call Rohan Polo or fake Rohan. And since everybody isn't in spaces, maybe we can get, I don't know, the JDLR comment. Maybe you can read that in Rohan's voice so that people understand Polo.
Okay, that'll put me on the spot. Emmanuel Mosley was having a huge season, but unfortunately, the injury happened. And I wonder if that's going to affect him in free agency next offseason, but it might keep him in the 49ers budget.
Awesome.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Rohan.
Appreciate you.
And Rohan's my son-in-law too, so on top of it.
I mean, I don't know that there are any more that you can really pick other than Jimmy. Like it really comes. I mean, I didn't want to be the one that had to say Jimmy, but like he's really the only.
I'm removing him out of here.
Just on the side note, nobody mentioned Hufanga as an approved player. You could have used Hufanga as well.
No. Jesse said mentioned him but
not for most improved though. Not for most improved. He said
No. I said the reason that I'm going to pick Lenore is because I gave Hufanga an award in Banks, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention them again. But I mean, you're right.
It is what it is. Like, I mean, he's doing things that we've asked him to do for a couple of years now, and like I'm trying to just dig. I'm trying to dig at this point, like for something positive to say about Jimmy. Like Jimmy, he is doing things that we've been the long passes, even though he doesn't complete most of them, like that. He's even taking them, and then the fact that he can get the ball to CMC without throwing interceptions, like that's what I got for you.
I disagree, Jerry. Jimmy's exactly who I've always thought he is. He's a starting level quarterback in this league, anywhere from 17 to 22, depending on the season, the ebbs and the flows. Quarterback play across the NFL is not as good as people think. And a lot of people say Jimmy Garoppolo is a backup. He's not. He's a starting level quarterback in this league, but he's also a guy that you should be actively trying to replace if you want to win a championship. Yeah. I think that's fair. I don't think that it has to be any more or any less.
Always upgradable.
And that's so funny you say that, Jesse, because like, with this comment from Niner Gang Wolfcast, like how is he doing his thing though? Like I wouldn't call that to me. For him,
he's doing his thing.
Yeah,
he's doing his thing.
He's doing his thing at an upgraded level.
But not like like other people's thing.
Yeah, like to me, like for me to say Jimmy is doing his thing, he has to do it at least for 3 or 4 games consistently. Like this roller coaster of quarterback play, I can't give him flowers for being, like I said, I'm not going to take
Yeah.
anything away from him this last game. He played, I mean, what was he? 21 for 25. I'll give him his props. Like, and not, and we can sit there and say, like, and people got mad. I think it was you too, Jesse, who talked about people getting mad because we talk about the could be interceptions or whatever the case may be. Well, you can't say could be. Well, you guys talk about what if he caught the ball? I argued with somebody today when they're like, we'd be 6-2 if there wasn't so many drops. Okay, we can also be 2-6 as those interceptions were caught. So we can talk about it either way. You know what I'm saying? So if Jimmy, like I mentioned it earlier in the show, if he comes out and plays well against after the bye against the Chargers, and gives me 3 or 4 consistent games, I'll shut up about him because then I'll say he's doing his thing. Like he has to go out there and play clean football. But who was it when he had the third? I mean, history repeats itself with this dude. When he gets into his third game, he throws an interception. He can never go more than 3 without throwing one. So
Hey,
there's
Kurt Warner
nothing.
said,
There's nothing he can do until the playoffs. When you are the worst fourth quarter playoff quarterback of all time, this regular season stuff we've seen. There's been 8 or 9 game stretches. You go look at the 2019 season again. Go look at parts of 2021. There's 6 and 9 game stretches where he's put together some really good play. This is not anything new for him. He may be doing it slightly differently, but the results are not any different. It's not as if he's on some crazy pace in touchdowns or crazy pace in yards that we haven't seen from him. The results are the same regardless of how he's navigating to get there. Let's see it in the playoffs. I need you to do something in the playoffs. That's before I'm willing to give anything and change my opinion about who Jimmy. If Jimmy Garoppolo goes and is the reason that they win a playoff game, I'll shut my mouth about Jimmy Garoppolo and I'll say maybe I underrated him. Maybe when I said he's 17 to 22, maybe he's a top 15 quarterback. But until then, there's nothing he can do to change my mind about who he is. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think he's as horrible as a lot of people make him out to be. I often find myself level setting because people want to tell me, well, his passer rating is top 5, and they want to cherry pick these stats to make him out to be something that he is not. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a top 10 quarterback.
Not at all.
And the faster that people understand that, the more comfortable we can be when we have these conversations.
Yeah. That's fair.
He's ass.
That's
I'm
fair.
just kidding. No,
you're just a hater.
Jesse. Well, I laugh at that too because, like, and Jesse made some excellent points, and yeah, it's true. It's like we can see it during the regular season. That's why people after the Rams game were kind of like, oh, okay, well, he had a good game, but I need to see more. And then it's quick to, well, you're just being a hater. Why don't you just give him his flowers, or the case may be? But it's like, okay, like you want us to give him flowers for what you expect out of your quarterback. Nothing was above and beyond. It's not like he threw for 350 and 4 touchdowns. He threw for 200 something yards, 2 touchdowns. That's solid quarterback play. So, and then people want to quick to say a hater. Well, if we're haters for speaking the truth, then so are Kyle and John, because they went up and got another quarterback to replace him. So, and there's not anyone on this panel that after 2017 were high on him. I mean, at least I can speak for myself. When we traded for him, he went 5-0. I was happy. I still didn't want him to get that long. I wish they would have franchise tag. And that's what I was wanting. They gave him the deal. I was happy going into 2018. Like, yes, this is this. I think, and we said this on Spaces, Jesse, we've all at one point were writing for Jimmy and wanting him to be our quarterback. But then over time, people start seeing his deficiencies as a quarterback. Just people see it at different times. Some people, I had a boy after 2019, after we went to the Super Bowl, said he wasn't it. I wasn't there yet. I was like, no, give him a chance. He did this and that. No, trust me. I played quarterback. This is what my boy was telling me. I played quarterback. He doesn't know how to hit you deep and this and that. And I was like, oh, let's give him a chance. 2020 came. I saw that first game against Arizona and I was out. I was like, I'm done with this dude. So people just, it's not that we're hating. We love to get fair criticism, but it's funny. And I mentioned this earlier. I feel like he's the only one that who gets a pass. Like we sit here I see people when they criticize Jimmy, and it's like, well, go root for another team. Okay,
Yeah.
you sit there and you can sit there and dog walk Mike McGlinchey. Nobody says a word. It's crickets.
No.
So it's just funny. It's like, give us our respect, because we're not picking and choosing who we want to criticize. We look at the game, we say who had a good game, who has a bad game. And then when we do say something good, it's, oh, well, I'm sure you can't wait till Jimmy has a bad game so you can bash on him. I'm just like, man, we can't win for losing here sometimes. But all we do is give fair criticism to who, I don't care who you are, whether it's a player, coach, I don't care who you are. I'm going to call it like I see it. But like I said, we all at one point were Jimmy fans. I'm still going to root for him. Don't get it
Yeah.
twisted. He's our quarterback. I'm going to root for him. I'm just wanting to go a different direction because I see what I see. And to me, he's just not good enough to get it done in the playoffs, just like what Jessie said. So,
Hey, by the way, if anyone does think Jimmy's elite, Roscoe in the chat earlier said that Jimmy's top 5. This is the same man that made a bet with me a few weeks ago that the Los Angeles Lakers would be in the Western Conference Finals this year, and then had to publicly cancel that bet on the Twitter timeline. Not even 5 games into the season. So
I wouldn't have canceled nothing. I would have made him pay me my money.
Yeah, for sure. I can't believe Chris would do that. I mean,
anybody got
All
some
right.
last thoughts or anything?
Yeah.
I think
Go
I said
around,
enough.
you guys can
I started the
plug.
Jimmy conversation, and that was enough.
Yeah, you got half the chat fighting and
That's
me
what you
throwing
do.
you
Just,
off the stream.
just drop the bomb in and then just walk away.
You got anything, Jessie or Polo?
But literally, you walked into the chat, silently farted, and then asked who farted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
you're welcome.
You guys go ahead and go around
drop
and
testing.
plug your channels and what you guys got going on.
Go ahead, Polo.
yeah, so thanks first of all, TL and Miriah, for having me on again. Appreciate it. If you follow my Twitter, it's just Chris Polo and 2 underscores. My link tree's in there. My YouTube channel is The Polo Show. So if you go there and subscribe, I'll be doing jersey giveaways in the future. The next one I'm probably going to do is a Hufanga jersey. I've made that decision after that pick 6 he had against Matt Stafford. Going to cover the Niners and also cover the Warriors throughout the season as well. So just go ahead and subscribe and tune in.
Go ahead, Peter.
Oh, okay. Hey,
It's Pete.
appreciate you guys for having me. Yeah, exactly. I didn't recognize it because it. But hey, thanks TL and Miriah for having me on today. It was a great time getting together with Polo, because I mean we're supposed to have the podcast every week, but I haven't seen him in like a month. So it is what it is. But
I've been doing Rohan's shows.
Yeah, like we have I have Niner Fanatic podcast every week. Twice a week I do a pregame show before the game on Sundays, and then I do a postgame usually Monday or Tuesday. And then I also have Last Man Standing that I do with Niner Sickness. Sometimes Rohan, and this Rohan, not fake Rohan. And then there's Forever Faithful podcast and Rich Keltz, and he's on that too. Also, I am doing Ryan Hensley show every Monday morning at 8:15. I'm on so catch us on that too. We're doing a lot of things now. So, but yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. It was a great time.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. You can catch me over at Last Second Sports. Appreciate y'all for putting this together. It's a lot of fun. And then go check out Niner Gang Wolfcast. We'll definitely be having that conversation tomorrow on his channel.
That's awesome. All I wanted to say is before we end the show is everybody, I try to say this because we're getting close. I didn't think it's funny how close January 1st has come. And it's no secret that Miriah and I live here in Las Vegas. I rented out a sports bar for the 49er Raider game. It's gonna be cash or Zelle. You can pay me however you want. You can do it at the door the day of the event. It's $40 a person, and I have it rented out from 12 to 5. The $40 includes all you can eat appetizers, and then they're gonna have 2 screens in the room so we can watch the game. So if you guys are gonna be here, if you feel like coming and you're like, man, the game tickets are too much, because last I checked, they were $800 for nosebleeds, and I know it's already expensive coming to Vegas during New Year's Eve because they hike up the prices with the hotels and all this other flights, all that stuff. So if you're coming, please join us at the event. I can't wait to see all you guys. And like I said, I'd rather hang out with you guys at the sports bar, chill and get to know you guys, and chit chat and stuff instead of being all over the stadium where we're probably not even going to be sitting near each other. So yeah, just people on Twitter hit me up in my DMs for more info, and Miriah's going to put together like a flyer to post it on Twitter as well, so people can come and show up if they want. So
Yep. I appreciate all of you guys for joining. I appreciate everybody in the chat for hanging out with us, for keeping the chat going. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Everybody on this show, they're linked to their channels, to their Twitters in the description of the show. So make sure if you haven't already, go subscribe to them, please. And yeah, we'll see you guys sometime next week. Everybody enjoy the bye week. We don't have to worry about getting an L this week, so enjoy it.
Enjoying
all
my
right,
bye
fam,
week.
you guys all
All
take
right.
care.
Go Niners.
Appreciate y'all. Bye.